subject to Jesha Jerusoto, Shingin of Tujipundum, Sage Lumbuto, Jebikusha, Jejavichela, which are. Yeah, so tonight supposed to talk on happiness. In this unpredictable world, something. So this our world or our earth or ourselves, the whole complete system of the kind of relative phenomena, or by its nature, or by its all this kind of modern technologies, by any means, more or less everything is unpredictable. That nothing really happened or just exists as something that which can be predicted, as it is, because in Tibetan we have a saying that Maung Palakurimme, which means future doesn't have any kind of stages, because it can be just change any time, and that is a part of the nature of phenomena, as the Shakyamuni Buddha, he taught that Dije Thamje Mitapa, which means all the compounded phenomena, compounded by causes and conditions, it is subject to change, subject to impermanence. So that way, just however we think, now these days, this modern world, going through all sorts of different kind of conditions, situations, problems, it seems like unpredictable. It's nothing new. It is really nothing new. And like kind of before, like when the year 2000 starting, just whole world just kind of like awakened. Just what is going to happen. Everybody kind of expected something, unpredictable phenomena, but nothing much. It's more or less same. And similarly, in the past, kind of like all those kind of world wars, just what it happened, and then things. Now what is going to happen the next? Still, just something continues. So that way, this our whole world and system itself has a process of ongoing, continuation. So in relation with that, what we have to do is, how we can just kind of somehow manage that we could have a better life, or just somehow more or less, happier life, or more something that which is more meaningful or more peaceful, and that which is also, just we are expecting and looking and wishing and thinking, just all the time. And that is also not new thing, from the very beginning, or just like from the beginningless lifetimes, whether we believe in such thing or not, that just every being is just kind of like expecting and wishing and kind of thinking, or just be happier, better, good, kind of more prosperous. That way we all just kind of wish. So that which is also just kind of part of the nature of beings like ourselves, that where we always just kind of look something more positive. But then not necessarily things happen in that way, what we wish, what we look, what we kind of think. So then just we are more or less sometimes kind of confused, or in other ways we just kind of comes up with question, why this is happening in this way, just what one should be doing, something that one can truly experience that kind of happiness, how one can achieve that happiness, or how one can make one's life more prosperous, or even just including this world kind of more kind of peaceful. So that way I think just almost all beings, every being really just kind of looking and try to create, try to prepare, and including all these great scientists, philosophers, and psychologists, and modern technologies, just everything, including all this business millionaires, just everybody just try to kind of concentrate in that way. Still it is not really happening exactly what we could wish, including all these religions, kind of religious leaders, kind of religious masters, and at the same time those all who follow specific kind of religion or faith, that we just do that wishing that kind of we could have a better life, more happier, more peaceful, something that more positive, good. But still not necessarily it just kind of really just happen. So that way it is, as we know, as we experience, as we just kind of understand in our day-to-day lifetime, and based on this kind of world itself, so that so there is something what is just kind of missing, why we cannot really have that actual peace or happiness. So what are that kind of just real cause or condition that we can just truly experience that kind of happiness or peace, or create that kind of just happiness in this world? So then just based on that, it falls into kind of two kind of relative causes and conditions, and then more ultimate causes and conditions. So the relative, just more or less, like everybody kind of thinking, just if I work hard and make more money, and then I can buy a good house, a beautiful car, and then have a kind of good partner, and just get this and that, and then I be just more happy and kind of enjoying. But that way also just everybody tried to do that, but still just maybe there is a little bit of kind of happiness or enjoyment, but still it is just kind of go through ups and downs. So that which is the relative kind of conditions also doesn't really kind of prove that if you kind of work hard to develop all those kind of just conditions, you can really experience just kind of peace. So that way the external material wealth, how much we develop, how much we try to accumulate, it just helps as just a condition that where we could experience some sense of happiness or joy or pleasure. For example, like if you have a just kind of a wooden chair, then sit there for a long time reading book, then you hurt, it's kind of not comfortable, it hurts, just. And then if you have a better, kind of more sofa seat, you feel like, this is very comfortable, and then just makes a little bit better condition. But if you sit too long on that same sofa seat, also you don't feel the real joy. Again, just it changes. Oh, this is too soft. I need maybe a little bit harder. So that way, everything goes through some sort of change. Because that the real cause and condition of happiness is not really anything outside, anything on the external kind of phenomena, or external kind of material wealth, or external kind of just what we just called as kind of our wealth. So the real cause and condition of experiencing happiness is not external, it is just more internal. So it is just of our mind. So in Buddhism, it is just whole complete teaching kind of talks and explains that how to kind of tame your mind, how to train your mind, and how to have a more kind of just perfect mind, so that you can just really experience that kind of true happiness and true peace and true joy. So according to that, just as many of you may be familiar with Buddhism, like how Shakyamuni Buddha, he started with his teachings, what is called kind of Four Noble Truth teachings. So that whole complete teaching is based on the cause and effect of this our relative, what is called samsara, or our world, or this our phenomena, or just anyway whatever this is, wherever we are living and wherever we are going through our kind of day-to-day lifetime, including this kind of body and feelings and experiences and so forth. So that is where to concentrate on the cause and condition if one wants to experience kind of happiness in one's kind of life. And that what it is explains of the more conventional, more relative, more of the just which is kind of easily can be understood in a common sense, that what we could kind of really just do based on just every individual being, and also as a whole, whether it is a community or a nation or just kind of world, that how we could kind of train our just mind. So that all just somehow, if we kind of study just in many different aspects, many different ways, many different kind of like experiments, like all the scientists doing so many different kind of experiments to just try to get some answer, like for example, like kind of healing method, create a medicine, but still just is not getting into some sort of satisfaction. Or now really we could discover this kind of medicine that which can just heal such kind of sickness forever. It's not just kind of really getting anything. It is not just only kind of scientific discoveries. It is not just only any other, even just all this kind of whether it is a Western medication or Chinese medication or Tibetan medication or whatsoever it is, it's all concentrating in that way. Still somehow it's not really working that much. So that is what, as a like a enlightened being, like Shakyamuni Buddha and so forth, all those realized beings, so they have a much greater insight into the fact, much greater wisdom, and moreover they can just see almost like see all the way to its kind of like a beginning to the end. What is the cause of just happiness and cause of kind of suffering, and which way one could possibly get success in that what we are looking or wishing for as kind of happiness, including like kind of liberation. So that part just the like based on that kind of condition. So Buddha taught that what it is called just afflictive emotions. So as long as just our afflictive emotions like hatred, anger, desire, pride, ignorance, these, as long as these are kind of like existing within our being, till to that we cannot just really end the suffering. And once we cannot really end the suffering, then of course we cannot experience the kind of true happiness. Even we have kind of temporary happiness for a while, just kind of nice day, and kind of you feel physically healthy, and you are not worried about kind of next day kind of working, and your just kind of bills are just kind of paid, and you have enough just kind of saving, and all the families are kind of loving each other, just kind of having good time, and going for just a camping or holiday, and so forth. It's just kind of like where we have good times, part of where we call happiness, just peace and enjoyment. But still it is not very kind of just stable, and also not that much long. It's just like these weathers, one day there is good sunshine, and next day kind of cloudy, and then next day just kind of windy, and next day just kind of rainy, and that how things are kind of constantly getting through all those kind of changes. So so that what it is, the just not anything else kind of like philosophy or religion or belief system or culture, that what it is there in the kind of nature. So it is just really important to know the reality, the just kind of the nature, how we can face the reality, within this kind of just world. As like you watch reality TV, so where just kind of like a, which is more or less kind of people think it is more true than just other sorts of like movies or other sorts of kind of TV shows. So according to that, now to experience happiness and try to reduce all sorts of kind of unhappiness, suffering, problems, emotions, and that just the how we can work, and where we have to look for its kind of the true way to experience that happiness is not really outside, not really just anywhere else. It is just looking into your mind, just checking your mind and thinking about your mind, and that what it is, the just kind of mind training, and then the mind taming. So in relation with that, like for example, as I said earlier, like a chair, a kind of wooden chair, and then a kind of like a sofa chair, kind of that just in our mind, one thing what we are lacking is kind of like a satisfaction, contentment. And when we don't have that contentment, satisfaction what we have, and then where it develops that kind of just desire, and then the greediness, and then a kind of just wishing to have just more and more, And so that is the mind, the sense of desire, sense of, wanting something more, sense of that kind of the greediness. And that greediness, just how much you develop in your being, in your just kind of like brain or in your being. And that cause you unhappiness. That cause you, kind of just suffering. And that cause you do more things. And, even you are wishing and looking for just kind of, happiness, but somehow, kind of like you are chasing after the, kind of like a suffering. And then abandoning the happiness. And that like the great Indian, master, Indian scholar from the Nalanda University, just known as Acharya Shantadeva. He have written this book called, Bodhichitta Avatara. Just some of you are familiar with that book and have studied and also, have sense of understanding and also just kind of, knowledgeable. So in that, just he says, Tewa debe timupe rangi tewa tadar jom. Tunge tonde seminjang tunge nilongan barjo. So he said like that. So I hope you got it, So Tewa dejang timupe, just with saying, even you wish for happiness, but being so obscure or so ignorant, oneself is running after the suffering. And and even one wish and wants to get rid of suffering, but still oneself is constantly accumulating the cause of suffering. So that what it is, just kind of, like means that we are lacking of wisdom. We are lacking of kind of true intellectual. We are lacking of that the actual mind training in relation with that, where we need to develop those, kind of like qualities, such as like, kind of contentment, like, kind of, satisfaction, and sense of that where one just kind of like be enjoying, what you have, and where one just kind of looking, just try to get what one needs, kind of relatively, just in a kind of simple way, what we need relatively to survive. Is not that what we want. If we just run after what we want, what we wish to have, then it just becomes endless. Just like when you look into kind of yourself, when we get into a kind of like ice cream shop, like in ancient time, maybe there is only one or two types of ice cream. So it becomes just more simple. Oh, you want this one or this one? Okay, just I like this one. You don't have much problem. It's just kind of like easy. You are not wasting much time. You are not getting too much involved with conceptual thought. And now that there is varieties of so many different kinds of ice cream, now which you want to buy? Oh, this vanilla, this is strawberry, this is mango, this is something, this something, and this flavor is good, this, and you may like this, and then you are just confused. Kind of not really experiencing joy. You get confused. Oh, what I should, and then you also develop some kind of desire. I really like this one. I really like. So I don't know which I want to get. So that way, like kind of like ice cream, just how we struggle. And similar like that, any other thing, like clothing, shoes and foods, and in one way it is good, somehow it is just kind of, developing, but on the other hand, it is creating more temptation. And temptation is okay if you are not tempted. Yeah, like, just Lord, the Buddha, just, there are so many temptations were created to, kind of in front of Buddha, but those temptations never just really kind of, tempted his mind. Because his mind is, accomplished with the satisfaction. His mind is just completely in his kind of, just peace of that, just tamed, tamed completely, that no anything of this, kind of temporary, illusory temptations just doesn't really benefit anything. So that is why just kind of, having that wisdom, seeing that illusory nature of this, kind of temptation, and not really chasing after that, and one doesn't have to just fall into any sort of problem or emotion or depression or struggle or anything, and moreover one just kind of, sense of relax and peace and joy and happiness. It's been just kind of, experience. So that what it is, just kind of more or less, kind of working with our just mind, not just kind of like a, in one way, not just running after whatever it is, just kind of like existing in the, kind of external world. So where we just, kind of, try to just tame one's mind, that, how we can just kind of like maintain our mind in such a way, that which is not being kind of like tempted by all these kind of, samsaric illusory kind of temptations. Then you feel that you have, everything. And when you feel that you have everything, then you feel you are satisfied. And when you feel you are satisfied, then you have everything what you want, or what you, just looking for, means then you are a rich person. When you feel that you have everything, means you are a rich person. To be a rich person doesn't mean that you have to have all just what is existing there. And just having all those, not necessarily you feel just kind of like a, happy or satisfied. That as we look all those who are kind of, rich people, including all these kind of, Hollywood stars. Like lots of people think, they are just Hollywood, kind of stars, and they are just kind of, very famous, and they have so much money, they live in a good house, kind of like in a very fancy car, but they don't really, kind of have real peace, happiness, in their mind. So that is why still they were looking for something. So that which also prove and explain that the external material wealth itself is not really just cause of happiness or condition, but it is just the, happiness that can find in one's mind. And that, just mind is also that where you develop, all those kind of, just quality, that how you just kind of, feel that, just the content or, satisfied. So in relation with that, like the Buddha's time, that one time one monk, kind of passed away, and then after, his friend monks, kind of check up all, his clothing and everything, and what that need to be done, and out of that they found, just one gold coin, out of all his wealth, found one gold coin. And then they brought that to Buddha and asked him, what we should do with this gold coin? And then Buddha said, just give this to that person who is the poorest one within this kind of, county. And then They said, okay, and then they took back, and then they started looking for who is the poorest one. And then just they look around and, kind of like ask for, people, and of course they are just kind of like homeless people or beggars, but still they were not sure, who is the poorest one. And then they just, brought back and came back to Buddha and asked, we could not find who is the poorest one. So please, will you guide us? Will you, guide, what we can, who is the poorest one? And then Buddha said, give it to the, king. That, King Sejong. Give it to him. And then they were just kind of confused. He is king, and he has so much wealth and, kind of treasures. And then, but still they could not just really say anything. And then, instantly, of course, Buddha know, and that Buddha said, that king have so much wealth, but he have no satisfaction. He have no contentment. So that is why he is the poorest one. If he get one gold coin, he want, two, and, if he have two, maybe hundreds and thousands, and he never get, satisfied, means just oneself is kind of, just poor. So that way, where one have that satisfaction, that which makes oneself kind of rich and kind of, just feel that kind of, pleasant, and then there just kind of can experience that joy and, happiness. So besides that, in one way, we just kind of like think, oh, this is our world. We don't know what is going to happen next year, and so forth. And then in many ways we try to kind of just like blame to somebody. Oh, these people created that, and these people created this, and that is why this world is just kind of becoming kind of shaky. So that just if we kind of truly look just carefully, there is no anybody to just really blame, because in which planet we are living, we all have equal responsibility, how we are connected for anything, anything that happens good or anything that happens bad, we all have equal responsibility. So that is why just there is no anything that we can just kind of really blame to kind of certain just being or people, that or these are the just causes. So that way where somehow just kind of we, instead of like having a thought of just caring for others, like oh, this is our planet, or this is our nation, or this is our community, or this is our family, or this is my family. Instead of kind of thinking in that way, just caring and try to kind of like protect, just like a kind of like a dividing, just with a kind of not just only a conceptual mind, with a certain level of kind of afflictive emotions, we divide and then kind of just kind of blame to somebody, and that way where we kind of develop like hatred and just anger and so forth, the rest of all sorts of afflictive emotions. And as this any kind of afflictive emotions are arising, whether as a whole, as a nation, or as an individual being, then it is just only disturbing, creating problems, and then just kind of suffering, and it destroys the happiness and the peace within the world, within oneself. So it doesn't do anything, just kind of good thing. So for that, there is what it is called collective kind of collective negativities and collective just individual negativity. So every individual kind of negativity, such as like hatred and anger, just kind of like a that arisen, and then you verbalize to somebody. Look at these people; they are doing this, and then this also support. And how much how much this group thinks that somebody is just kind of like responsible for the kind of like disturbance of this world, and they think same way these people are the cause of the disturbance of this world. So it is just like kind of dependent. If just if there is not existing I, then there cannot exist you. When there is the you and then there is the I, when there is the right, then there is the left, when there is the good, then there is the bad. That what it is, the kind of dualistic world, dualistic mind, dualistic phenomena, and where we are living, everything kind of dependent. It is like a scale, just or like seesaw, that how it goes up and down, and it is just dependent. So that way, instead of just kind of developing any sort of like afflictive emotion, hatred and anger, instead of that, if we try to develop more of what is called just compassion, loving kindness, and then caring, caring for each other. Of course, it is so difficult to just really that we could just make this world completely in a kind of peace, like no wars at all, completely non-violence. It is just difficult, and maybe it is just not even just possible, because as we look back into our history, and even we look back into just beginning of the civilizations, that there are always something is going on. But still, there is a way how we can just kind of like manage or maintain, just more happiness than the kind of just suffering, and that which is kind of possible, that the whole community working in a more positive way, where we just try to develop that sort of kind of compassion, loving kindness and caring. And that even though in a kind of external world, as a whole kind of just group of people and working together, and that they can just create that the world into some sort of peace or happiness, but at least those who ever just practice on compassion and loving kindness and caring for others, and try to reduce their own afflictive emotions, that individually they can truly experience that kind of peace and happiness and joy in their mind. So that is why it says kind of peace in one's mind is peace in the world, where you experience just some sense of just kind of peace in your mind, that what it is in one way, it is your world. There is no any leader or any kind of just dictatorship that somebody can just kind of like just kind of make a law that no any sort of kind of disturbance could happen or warfare could happen. It's not possible. And on the other hand, in all these teachings which says that there is no beginning of the world when it is started. So when there is no beginning, in that the same way there is also no end. And when there is no beginning of the world means when there is no beginning of the sentient being. means every individual sentient being. Then there is no, end of that every individual sentient being. So, which means somehow, just kind of like our consciousness. Our consciousness goes on just kind of like just cycle of birth and death. Birth and death. Whether we believe in kind of rebirth or not, it doesn't matter. Even we don't believe in rebirth, even we don't believe in kind of reincarnation, but the reality, nobody can change the reality. Nobody can stop the reality. In reality, when just kind of some sort of what is called consciousness, one day, as we know, one dies. And then when one dies, then we leave this body. The death is just, meaning of death is leave this body, and then the consciousness, kind of gets out of it. Somehow this consciousness or the mind. And that which somehow, kind of never, ever just dies forever. The consciousness or the mind doesn't disappear forever. So that consciousness kind of like continues to, kind of what is called rebirth, which means you adopt a new form. So that way we are getting recycled, kind of recycled in this, world. Whether just, in any ways, whether we could believe in that way or not, it doesn't just really matter. Whether we are told to believe or not. Just whatever it is reality, it will just go through in its kind of reality and in its kind of, nature and based on its kind of, truth. So that way, what it is called the, kind of cyclic existence, that is just, our consciousness goes on and on. So now the only possibility in a sense that just kind of, saying, oh, just let, all the, sentient beings be liberated at a time and then just end the world and empty this, kind of samsara. Kind of like, hard, even hard to imagine. It is not necessarily, it's kind of impossible thing, but it is almost impossible. But individually, individually there is, in this whole complete text in Buddhism, it says, individually there is an end of the samsara. So that which means, that as we go through our mind training, that where we always try to concentrate into all this, just in one way like, positive thinking, or on the other hand, kind of, developing all this positive quality, such as like, compassion, loving kindness, caring, being nice, following those, kind of all what is called virtuous activity. Something virtuous activity, something meritorious activity, something that which is kind of more spiritual, something which is kind of like a, godliness, something that which is, kind of like a, everything good. And that sort of just kind of mind, and that sort of, kind of mind quality, that sort of just, kind of nature, if we develop and try to kind of reduce, like what is called those, afflictive emotions, like, hatred, anger, desire, pride, ignorance, jealousy. So those are just, like within every single sentient being. No matter who we are, no matter whatever just, kind of belief system we have, no matter whatever culture, language, tradition, system, as a sentient being, no matter even just as a human being or animals or insects or any other sorts of existing creature, that all the beings have that sort of, kind of this what is called afflictive emotion equally. And because of that, just we are creating this world, including this unpredictable world, where we don't know what might happen next, anything that's good or bad. So that depends upon that, just every individual being's mind where we could work on. It's not just really working outside. Every individual being just try to work on with one's mind how we can just kind of, reduce all these, afflictive emotion, more like, so much of, hatred and anger, that we just kind of like, kind of just look or just, like a, create in such a way that, kind of blame to somebody. And that's how we can just reduce. And instead of that, how we can just, develop a sense of just kind of, caring for, others same like oneself. Caring for others' family same like one's own family. Caring for, other countries same like one's own country. Because we live in the same planet, Especially these days, the world has become just very small. There is no much different from Asian country to Western country, northern to southern Antarctic. Just as a whole, we even get all those information just like that. So, like somebody's kind of relative family, maybe in an Asian country, if there is something bad happening, here they get hurt, unhappiness, suffering, problem. In that same way, somebody's relative or somebody's friend, in the Western country, and then they are, in the Asian, when they hear something happening in the Western country, they feel hurt. So that is, just where we, kind of have the concept of, oh, this is my family, my relative, my friend, my, just something, and that same thing where you feel mine, that same thing, the rest of all other beings also have that mind thing. So when we don't want that being hurt by any other being of my thing, then why you have to hurt somebody's my thing? So that way, just kind of like logically, it doesn't make sense. And that way, it is causing just conflict and problem, and then hatred, and all those anger, and then kind of disturbance, and then we see this unpredictable world where we are just kind of like kind of scared, kind of frightened, and just kind of like confused, oh, what happened with our just kind of future world. So that is just really working with our mind, just how we could develop a sense of just caring, like very, very, very relatively where we talk about like human rights, just that every single human being just have their rights, and that has to be protected by any other human being. So, in one hand, the human beings talk about human rights, and then on the other hand, the human beings are destroying the human rights. It just doesn't make sense. Kind of there is no just kind of point, and it is just contradicting, and also it is not really just make things anything just kind of better. So that relatively it is like that, in a more spiritual level, then just again, like based on all these religious teachings, like where kind of rest of other kind of religions where it talks about like kind of divine nature and divine qualities, or kind of the Christ nature. and then like kind of Allah nature, or Vishnu nature, and then in Buddhism it says Buddha nature, a kind of just primordial nature, and that's also kind of like godliness or divineness, that it is there within every single sentient being, and that we just labeled different names, and then we conceptualize it is different from each other, and then we just fight. In reality, just kind of creating only destruction, not really doing anything that somebody could really gain something, and that somebody just kind of lose something, which seems in the relative world, or we fight with those my enemy and then kind of destroy, and now we gain and we just kind of like become victory. But look into the whole history. Never ever just kind of like feel satisfied that whatever they have done in the past. And now this is like 21st century, that we think like we are so much civilized compared to those time, and that much we are civilized, that much we are supposed to experience more happiness and joy and peace and kind of just something kind of positive quality. Are we just kind of developing something, anything like that? Not much, because we are not going through mind training. We never ever worked with our just kind of these real cause of suffering, the all this hatred, anger, kind of these afflictive emotions. Never worked with that. That is why even individual oneself also, when you by any means, sometimes you are just kind of you want to check a kind of very important kind of message, email, and then your computer doesn't just function immediately, and you get angry, you get frustrated, and then you kind of smash your computer sometimes. And then who lose? Computer doesn't just care anything. It is like smashing one's own head, And who caused that? It is just the afflictive emotion. That afflictive emotion is not anywhere. It is just here in one's kind of mind. What is called that, like anger, just when it arrives, it disturbs your whole being. And how much it disturbs your whole being, and then your action just kind of like disturbing the rest of other people. Anybody just asks like, are you okay? Are you doing okay? And then you still get mad. And then you are just affecting that negativity to other rest of even your family or colleague or anybody, and it just creates kind of disturbance. It doesn't do anything. So if we really want to just experience happiness, doesn't matter whether it is just kind of unpredictable world or predictable world, wherever we live, whether as one's own individual world or whether as a whole world, that one have to just train one's kind of mind. And that is why all those who really just sees the fault in the samsara, then they just kind of like walk into the forest, because they see there is problem everywhere. And it is, in many ways, it is hard to, when somebody shows an anger, when even somebody just have a bad look at you, then, it is hard to be just kind of like a patient, compassionate, loving, and just kind of, take it easy. Because there is no enough mind training. It is not that you cannot do it, it is just not having enough mind training. Just how you could train your mind. Oh, it is okay, just take it easy. Not just people can be angry for any reason. There may be some reason, there may be no reason. It is possible. And then try to develop, still just even one could not develop compassion, loving kindness, but at least just kind of relax oneself, not to respond in a negative way. Just relax and then one's own peace, and just practice some sense of patience and tolerance. Those are the words that which we use and which we are looking and which we are kind of wishing. But if we don't train, if we don't exercise, if we don't do that kind of practice, then there is no way we can experience that happiness. Just no matter whatever, just it goes on in this world, how much it looks like kind of nice, just there is no way one can just really experience that peace or happiness. So that's why one have to just work with one's mind, try to take it just kind of easy, and then at the same time just a sense of kind of like a wisdom or insight, just realizing, all these beings, they have that afflictive emotion. Anybody can be afflicted. So just one should be just kind of more patient and kind of more kind of working with one's mind, a sense of kind of relaxation, and try to just kind of develop more of the positive qualities. And that part, what I kind of just relating with what is called the divine just nature, and that the divine being which is within every single being has all those qualities in its perfection, in its completeness. So the problem is we have that divine being, like all those enlightened beings. We have that quality. We have all those just the sense of those kind of perfection. But the only problem and only the difference is we never trained in that way. We never tried to exercise the divine qualities. We got so lost with all this afflictive emotion, with all sorts of confusion, frustration, and just anxieties and so forth. That our mind gets so confused, and you could not just even experience slightest of that kind of divine quality, something which is within yourself, something which is kind of like just so peaceful, so peaceful, relaxing, and just kind and loving, and just that almost there is no any kind of problem at all in that kind of divine nature. And that when we never exercise, then we cannot experience. So that sort of just in many ways that sort of information is not being kind of just given that much. How to work with one's mind, and how we can just kind of know of our own divine nature and divine nature's quality. How we can just develop in that way. How we can just train ourselves to be a noble being. There are noble beings, lots of noble beings also, and they are just all this where we appreciate as a noble being. That same kind of quality is also within every being if we could train ourselves. So that way, just kind of looking into the cause and condition of real happiness and peace is just looking into one's mind and just kind of training just one's mind, how we can just develop such thing. And besides that, in just Buddhism there are so many, not just only informations, not just only informal just kind of teaching. Also there are kind of practical instructions that which can be trained, and at the same time the practical instructions have to be applied into practice by individual beings. If we don't practice, then again it is just same thing. You have whole bunch of knowledge. It is same like in these books. All those are already written. But these books are just books. There is knowledge as you read. But that is not necessarily just. It is a kind of liberated being. So that's just kind of practice just in one's, being, what sorts of, information in relation with these kind of, noble qualities, how one has to just, work. And that, just no matter how long it takes, if we just kind of like start, if we start, now, then there is a way we could just, get there. To train one's mind, to develop and to exercise with all those kind of, divine qualities. If we start now, today, by the, just end of one's life, one may just, almost become a noble being. And where one could be a just kind of, example for the rest of one's, kind of family or friends or this, to the world. Like, those who are in the past, all these, great beings. So that, just in a much more deeper level of, spiritual practices, that where even it explains, if one could not just kind of like work with one's, kind of mind to reduce all these afflictive motions, and then just try to perceive that, oh, these all are like, magical illusions. And oneself and others just like it, all this, this whole complete world, just whether it is something kind of like a beautiful or ugly, nice or bad, or suffering or happiness, everything try to look as like, a magical illusion or like a dream. When some sort of, afflictive emotion arrives, it's just, oh, this is like a dream, just why I have to just be concentrate so much and get, afflicted myself. It's like a dream, just let it go. Or even you get so much kind of like, tempted or kind of, kind of attracted for something, and you are just kind of like a, just running after it. And that which also causes, kind of problem, and then immediately, oh, it is like a dream, like a, kind of beautiful rainbow. It just looks like beautiful, but it doesn't have any kind of concreteness. It doesn't have any kind of real existence. So why I should be just, tempted so much, in that way, and just kind of, relax one's mind, and kind of make it just kind of like more, even. And that way, where just to perceive, all everything is like a kind of illusion, almost like a just kind of in a dreamland, or almost like a just kind of movie theater, and not just kind of taking anything very kind of seriously, realistically, and not just looking at something very concrete, solid, kind of so very rigidly, and making all sorts of kind of just this some conceptual discipline that, oh, this way one should be doing, this way one should not be doing, and just working with kind of like all those kind of like a just more or less it is afflicting one's mind in that way. So instead of that, always try to just kind of relax. Even just somebody says bad to you, kind of criticize you, if you take it like kind of like a dream, like a illusion, like a echo, okay, that's fine, just, and then it doesn't just harm you that much. You don't have to get so emotional just somebody is criticizing me, or even somebody appreciates you or praise you. You not necessarily have to get so excited, because that is also same thing. It is like illusion. It's like an echo, just. And if you just kind of relax, then you are always in a kind of like a middle path or moderate, or just kind of becoming more stable. You are not just falling into up and down. When you get too excited, just with that kind of excitement, and then when that excitement is gone, then you collapse down. And when you are just kind of too depressed, and that way just sometimes it is just kind of hard to get out of it. So that where that need is some sense of what is called stability in one's kind of personality. Just not just kind of like small kids kind of like getting excited, and then kind of like and first get so excited, then oh we are good friends, and then just hit little bit, and then they started crying, kind of like just like childish. So instead of that, one's mind just try to handle everything in a kind of more relaxed and more stable mind, and just kind of like be more steady, and just a sense of diligence and perseverance, and kind of maintaining all those kind of just positive qualities. Quiet. Yeah, even these like modern technology, like people think, yeah, we think, oh, if I get a handphone, then just I will enjoy. I can call my mama, I can call my just daddy, my friend, my son, and but then sometimes, oh, I should not have this handphone. Where I ever go, they will find me. So that anything this kind of just samsaric, the dualistic phenomena is always like that. There is no anything that just you could really experience just kind of true joy. So that the true joy, true happiness, that only you can just experience within yourself. That when you could kind of just tame your mind, all sorts of this afflictive emotion, hatred, anger, all this, when this is just kind of like kind of gone, and also in many ways we may think, oh, this like hatred and anger and desire and pride and ego and this looks like it is with you moment you are born, with everybody. Moment you are born, it is just there. And then one may think, oh, this is part of me, so how I can get rid of it? And that with if you are angry, you think I am angry, and you could not separate that anger and yourself, because you are I am. You say I'm angry now. If you don't do this, I'm going to smash you. So even like sometimes parents, they get so mad with their kids, if you don't do your homework, I'm going to smack you, or I'm not going to give you ice cream. So that where we think just anger and oneself is just one. Similar like any other afflictive emotions. In reality, it is not. And your every individual, your being is called divine nature, and that divine nature is that kind of nobleness of yourself, which is your own true nature. That is your true nature. And then this anger and so forth, all these afflictive emotions is not your true nature. It is just very temporary within the samsara. While you are within this kind of cycle of rebirth, within that it is just looks like it is yourself. It is just existing. And the moment you recognize your divine nature, your primordial pure nature, in Buddhism, higher level of kind of Buddhist teaching, what is called Dzogchen. If you realize your primordial pure nature, the moment you recognize, then this afflictive emotion and this kind of whole complete system of this samsaric just the phenomena, the samsaric aspects of yourself is just, kind of instantly just kind of gone, just dissolved. Because that is just kind of very, very temporary, like, temporarily just kind of, created and temporarily confused. And that way it is just temporarily, kind of like existing. So that is why in these, higher Buddhist level of teaching and meditation, there are, kind of such instructions, how and in which way the possibility of recognizing one's own divine nature, of that what it is kind of, completely, just good and pure and nobleness. And that kind of just, nobleness which is, your, kind of true nature. And when we are not experiencing that, when we are not realizing that, when we are not recognizing that, then we are just kind of, confused and just deluded by these kind of like, the devilness of afflictive emotions. And then we act like wild. How would we act like just kind of like human beings? But from the divine nature point of view, we are acting just almost like crazy, like wild beings. Just we are not in our own natural state of that pureness or that perfectness. We are not abiding in that way. And that what it is called the part of just kind of, the samsara, the cyclic existence. And that which is just kind of caused by, just our deluded mind. And that what it is called delusion, deluded. It is same like that kind of, having any other sorts of, kind of drugs, that how you started just kind of experiencing all sorts of funny, strange things and hallucinating all sorts of, kind of phenomena that which never existed. And then one feel like it is the reality. Oh, this is what I'm experiencing, and this is what I'm just perceiving, and this is my world, and this is what I like, in that way, just kind of like, as long as the, kind of the, whatever that opium or else, LSD or mushroom or that drug, as long as that the, whatever the power of that drug is within your being, till to that you have all those hallucination and experience, where you think it is very real. And moment that kind of, the drugs kind of the whatever energy or power is just gone, then you come back into just kind of, this real relative reality. Then again just, kind of something different. So that whole complete hallucination is just very temporary. It's never existed anything like that. And in that same way, we are just kind of hallucinating this whole complete, just unpredictable, this world and samsara, where we just kind of, like feel this, just which looks like so real, with the drugs of afflictive emotion, the ignorance, the deluded mind, just kind of projecting and creating and experiencing, and we think this is just real. But from the divine nature point of view, this is exactly equal to like hallucinations of those drugs. There is no any reality. It is just completely, just false, illusion, not true. Same like, just dreams, same like your dreams. Moment you have a dream, kind of like, it looks like, in the dream itself, when you are dreaming some kind of good dreams or bad dreams or whatever. While you are dreaming, it looks like everything is so real. And that whole complete phenomena in the dream itself is projected by your kind of, just mind that which is in sleep. and then projecting your body, your friends, your kind of experiences, the landscape, just including those waters and scariness, everything is just kind of been kind of projected by your mind. And nothing is really happening in the dream, You're just lying in your bed. And only you realize that it is not true is moment when you wake up. Moment you wake up, you realize, oh, I was just having a nightmare dream. I thought it was so real. Oh, it's good, it is just only a dream. So in that same way, moment we, kind of like wake up, just recognizing our divine nature. Moment we wake up, our own kind of, just primordial pure nature, then you realize, oh, this whole complete, samsaric phenomena and beings, whatever we call this, unpredictable world, is just exactly like that dream. Nothing never ever just really happened. So then why we just, kind of really worry about? But then, on the other hand, there is the reality. As long as we are not awakened, when we are not awakened, this looks like real. So that way we are facing this kind of, reality. In that same way, as long as you are not awakened from that sleep, while you are dreaming, you just really feel everything is kind of real. So the thing is, we have to wake up. How we have to wake up, with all this kind of spiritual training, how to recognize one's own kind of, primordial pure nature or divine nature, what is, something that which is called absolute truth. That's what it is called, the absolute truth or absolute reality. Something what it is just kind of like beyond any sort of expressions of word, or beyond any conceptual mind, beyond any sort of just kind of imagination of this our mind. That's something which is kind of pure and perfect and just enlightened in that way. And that kind of just nature is there within every being. So anybody can just end the samsara and the suffering and the unpredictable world with such kind of spiritual training, that which is kind of just based on mind training, nothing else, mind training. So that way, this our mind has just kind of like, in a way, just have to say two things: a relative mind and absolute mind. So the absolute mind, that which realizes the absolute reality, that which experiences the divine nature and divine quality, that what it is, the absolute mind. And then the relative mind, this which is based on the kind of ignorance, with all these afflictive emotions. So the relative mind, the ignorant mind, is projecting this whole complete this present samsaric just phenomena and just everything. It's just projection of this ignorant mind. We just think, oh, this wall is wall, this my mind is mind, kind of white is white, blue is blue, beautiful is beautiful, ugly is ugly, just how that can be possible? I'm just projecting all this kind of phenomena. Then just think of your dream. We have their very simple, easy example to just logically prove that. Think of your, dream lifetime. When you are dreaming, there are just, all those kind of, walls you are dreaming. You are dreaming those, beautiful waters, rivers, flowers, friends, peoples, and, animals, birds, all sorts of, including, all this, just even, in your dream, you are just kind of using your handphone and computer. And those all, there is no any reality phone and computer. And those all, there is no any reality at all other than your mind that projecting in the dream itself. Your mind is just in form of that, people, in form of that water, in form of that house, in form of that, kind of car, or in form of the whole complete scene in the water. It's your mind projecting. And when you wake up, nothing is there. In that same way, this our present lifetime also, our mind is projecting the whole complete phenomena with that kind of, ignorant mind as it got diluted because of that confusion. So it looks like everything so real. But moment we wake up with our divine nature, this all never ever just happened. So if one could experience and recognize in that way, then there what it is called the liberation and the enlightenment. Then you really experience what is called ultimate happiness. That happiness just lasts forever. The happiness and that joy and that peace never fades away. Never fades away. And that is why those who are just kind of like involved into spirituality, you can just see, those who are more involved into spirituality, they are always more relaxed and calm and more peaceful. Even just, kind of problems are happening, still they know how to handle that in a more easy way. Because they are working with their just kind of, mind. So that way, just if one's mind is in peace, and if one knows how to maintain one's mind in just kind of real peace, then you can just experience this world in a just kind of peace. And that way, every individual being just kind of like work in that kind of direction. Then there is a way just one day that this world can be like a kind of just paradise, and we don't have to worry about unpredictable world. That we can just kind of predict ourselves, or don't worry for the future world, just because we are preparing for the future world, something which is kind of like just peaceful and nice and something just kind of beautiful. A wonderful world, and that which can be prepared, because the whole complete phenomena, whether it is kind of looks like real or illusion, everything is kind of dependent on its own specific causes and condition, how you assemble that. And that which is proved by all these scientific experiments. All this scientific discovery is just based on the assemblage of causes and conditions, putting into in such a way that which can create something, discover something, invent something, and that is nothing else. It is just kind of assemblage of the causes and conditions, putting together in a kind of correct way. So just whether it is one's own individual world or as a whole, that everybody has that responsibility that we could, kind of assemble all those kind of positive, causes and conditions to have a better world for the future generation. And not just only that, individually one can be completely liberated and just be enlightened and become an omniscient being. And that which is kind of, not just only kind of like possible, it is just true, one can just really do it, like, like the past, examples, like, like Shakyamuni Buddha and so forth. There are hundreds and thousands and millions who just gone through that path and then actualized that, experience, and then they got liberated, and then they are just, all the time in that sense of, great peace and joy and happiness, that which never loses. And not only that, all those kind of realized beings also appear to individual beings who are just kind of engaging into such practices. Because it is not an illusion, not an imagination, not a fake, it is some kind of reality in its kind of illusory reality. A reality in form of an illusion, but still it has a reality. So that way, how this our world, that where kind of it starts without its beginning, and it finishes without end. It looks like there is a beginning, there is an end, but at the same time there is no real beginning and there is no end, because beginning and end is a conceptual mind. It's conceptual thinking, a dualistic mind. The moment you recognize your own primordial, kind of primordial pure nature, you never ever have kind of displayed in any sort of kind of like time frame. It has been abiding in its timeless time. It's gone beyond all sorts of conceptual mind. It is there but not really there. So that sort of liberation, that sort of enlightenment, that sort of kind of ultimate happiness can be experienced if we train our mind only through that, not with what we are trying to achieve in this world with kind of external material, and at the same time just kind of like using all these kind of powers and just attempting to be just oneself victory and somebody be loser. And that way just it is kind of like causing more of illusory kind of like just dream like life, that which never just kind of really ends. And that what it is in a more kind of ultimate sense, and besides that relatively just kind of like a kind of not try to live in past and the future. Just try to live in the present moment. Your present, every present moment is your present life and your present life. They are your present world. That is the only you are really experiencing. The present moment, just that. When you are here, you are here. And when you are here, you are not in the past, you are not in the future, you are not anywhere else, you are just here. So every single moment of the present time, if you utilize, in a very positive way, in a proper way, in a virtuous way, then you are just naturally preparing your just kind of future, something very positive, something whatever it is called happiness, peace, and so forth. So that the most important thing is your present moment of what you think, how you maintain your mind, and at the same time how you maintain your mind, you have to maintain your verbalization and physical kind of action. And that is what we have. Just only to discipline three things: mind and speech and then physical body. The body is speech and mind. Whether we wander in samsara, it just kind of goes through body, speech, mind. Whether we could be liberate, it just happens through body, speech, mind. Whether we could experience, great joy, peace, happiness, also through this, body, speech, mind. There is nothing more just complicated just to maintain. So just, watching one's body, speech, mind in every single moment of that present, how you can just maintain in a more positive, in a more virtuous way, in a more meritorious way, something that which is kind of like concentrated in just how you care for others, like same like how you care for yourself. with the sense of, kind of the motivation of compassion, loving kindness, and that they try to be a noble being, a good guy, then one should be fine. So when you are fine, then we don't need any kind of these public talks. Then should stop here, I think. Unless you have, any questions.
Yes, I have a question.
Okay.
So, in the Buddhist concept, we don't have evil, right? Is there anything you would call evil? So you don't believe in really, you only believe that everything is really divine and goodness, and there's no evil. There's nothing called evil or hunger or pain. The reality of how people experience things.
No, in the absolute sense, of course, there is no evil. But relatively, what is living in this kind of, dualistic world, there is kind of pain, there is kind of happiness, there is good, and there is, evil. Relatively. And that which is also, kind of more or less kind of like existing in kind of, one's like a, negative side of the mind and positive side of the mind. Any questions?
I wonder if you can give me, like a kind of like, this is a very elementary level, like a practical tip on just before you get angry. What do I think? I mean,
just pause.
Pause.
Yeah, pause for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Like before act anything.
Yeah.
And then, kind of just look into your just anger thought.
Yeah.
No, just why I'm angry and what that, from where the anger is arising.
Mm-hmm.
Just try to look into it. You'll never ever find anything concrete, solid, that just kind of like with, hang like horns and scary being, Nothing is there. Nothing is substantial. It is just kind of a mental emotion. So when you look into it, it will dissolve.
Okay, fine. Now the other way. What should I think of when, for you said, if somebody insults you, don't get angry, and if somebody praises you or flatters you, don't get so taken up by it, get carried away with it. What is the first thought you think of when somebody praises you?
Then you just feel joyful. Just feel joyful, and then at the same time not get excited. Oh, that's good. It just, kind of however they praise, or that if I could be, just helpful in that way, just, it is good. And just, kind of, in that way, just let it just go. Yeah, not to hold onto it, after that. Yeah. Yeah.
What if you are really, you find out from your doctor that you're sick, you're very ill, like, say for example, I just find out from the doctor that I have cancer. So how do you take it? I mean, you said, one should, really tap into one's divine nature. But how can you be peaceful? You know that you're going to die or something, so can you enlighten me?
Yeah, that is going to happen to everybody, whether somebody has a sickness or not. Not necessarily one have to be kind of, just depressed because one have cancer, because there are healthy people just die before somebody who have just somebody die with a cancer. So that way, just in a way, kind of, just enlighten oneself with the kind of, relative nature. Moment Buddha said, moment we born, that we are just subject to die. So only the difference may be like if one don't have the cancer, maybe one might live longer. But maybe, just the cancer is the only condition the way how one dies. Because some people die with sickness, some people die with accident, some people die with kind of wrong medication, some people die with the wrong food, some people die with the, all sorts of craziness. So there has to happen a kind of condition. Some people just even die just lying in bed and just die. So that way one have to just kind of like understand and accept that reality, just the the end of the birth is just that. And then on the other hand, where one can still relax and feel comfortable and feel like more peaceful is just kind of like involved into some kind of serious spiritual practice. And when one just kind of really involved into serious kind of spiritual practice, whatever that is possible, like in Buddhism there are so many practices that as one do, and the more the practice develops and more the practice becomes just stronger, that much one kind of like just experiences that death is just really nothing. It is just matter of a process of going into the process of birth and death, like any other being. And not only that, if one's kind of spiritual practice just kind of like somehow becomes so serious and so effective, then one even may have some sense of experience or some realization that just death is like illusion. Cancer is like illusion.
But it's painful.
No, if one has such kind of realization, like illusion, then there is no even just pain, because pain is illusion. And pain, illusion is one experience the emptiness nature or the absolute nature of phenomena, then it is a illusion. There is no anything concrete really existing in that way. So it is matter of not realizing that illusory nature. When you are kind of realize you are dreaming in the dream, when you are having a nightmare, you don't have to worry about to wake up. So it's same thing. Yes.
You spoke about the pain of desire, chasing something, and that this is a reflection of the afflicted mind. How is it then that the pursuit of spirituality, seeking that, is not also a sign of suffering, also another means of staying in the same affliction?
No, because that sort of kind of like a desire is one is kind of positive, one is negative, and the desire for kind of like a just for having aspiration for liberation and enlightenment and working towards it is just to end the suffering. And desire for wanting something of anything of this samsara is just creating more suffering. So it is just completely different.
Is the motive? Is it what makes it different? Is the motive, the intention behind it?
Yeah, it is just kind of the difference of motivation, difference of the path, and difference of its fruition. So the result is just different, One just kind of as how much one engages that ends the suffering, one that which increases suffering. Somebody just needs badly, I think. Yes.
Can I ask another question? In connection with the idea of death, I had a teacher recently tell us, but I couldn't question him. He told us that there are some lamas who, when they found out that they were going to die, They felt that death was not something bad or undesirable. They just said, "Oh, I'm finally going on vacation. You know, I'm getting out of this samsara. You know." So I don't understand what the lamas mean when they say that. Are they are they looking forward to the bardo, or where they not get no suffering, no happiness, no nothing, or are they so sure that when they come back they're going to be less suffering, or what was it? What is that?
No.
What does such a story mean? We have to come back, right? We have to keep helping others.
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. Even if they don't want, then why just, he has to come back?
I thought a Buddha always has to keep helping others forever until we are all Buddhas.
Yeah, so that is just Buddha's coming back is just completely different. It is just what is called manifestation. So manifestations never have to face any sort of, the samsaric cause and condition. Doesn't have to depend upon that. So even they just kind of like seems like born, seems like kind of death, but it is like a just kind of going through like a just illusory manifestation. So there is no anything kind of reality of just kind of like suffering or any kind of samsaric flaws never affected it. And then on the other hand, the lamas that who would just kind of say that
he was tired of this samsara.
Yeah.
He was tired. He wants to go on vacation.
Yeah. Yeah, just it's not just on vacation, just then it's coming back. You finish your vacation, they would say, "Oh, now just I'm going back to home."
Okay.
So means they have realization of their divine nature. So,
But in the meantime, what do I get from this? For me, I'm not a lama, so what does this mean? If I'm just good now, then the next life will be easier or something like that?
If you say like that?
Yeah, what am I supposed to get from that story? I never asked.
Oh.
What lesson am I supposed to learn from
Oh,
such
right,
a story
okay.
that a lama says that? What do I get from it? What do I say?
That lama, from that you have to get inspiration. Oh, how you do that? I also want to do that way, And that way, on the other hand, you can develop what is called devotion, faith, belief. Oh, wow. Just, kind of this lama, they enjoy just, kind of like dying. Oh, this must be something very special. And then one develop devotion, Yeah. In our monastery also, like in 1980s, one just lama, he also got cancer, like throat cancer, something. He cannot eat anything. So then he just only drink tea from our monastery, and then he just kind of, in beginning he is very huge and big, and then he just, anyway, still he lived for 2 months, not eating anything, just drinking tea. And then he's getting, smaller and smaller. And then many of his kind of like sponsors and his students, they come and then kind of, just bring something, and then, they just kind of get upset, and then they cry in front of him. And then he said, "What you are doing? Are you just crying for me? I'm going back to my home, and I prepared this since my childhood to now, so I'm going back home. You are crying for me? It's stupid. You should cry for yourself, what you have been doing in this world." Yeah, so that is, as one just kind of prepared, the whole lifetime, just how to just kind of enjoy that, just having that kind of liberation, going back to, just the home, the sweet home. Yeah. It's very delicious. it is very enjoyable. Yes?
You spoke how choices make us unhappy and how we are very rarely happy when we get what we want or achieve what we want. And I think that's kind of obvious where we are in the moral world, but the question is, what do we use to make these choices? Because we still live in a world where we have to choose our careers and we're facing with these choices every day. What kind of guidance you can give us? If not desires, like what should be the aspiration then?
The choice, yes, right now at this present moment, just everybody has choice. But choice is not like that, or just kind of like a kind of choice to try something. That whether one could have a better life, within this lifetime or next lifetime. That sort of kind of decision, making that choice, within one's hand. But the thing is that one should to know that oneself is making a right choice based on the kind of reality of that such a choice can definitely bring that kind of real happiness, not just kind of a random choice like, oh, maybe I chose this one, not in that way. So for such kind of choice, for such kind of positive, just in a way kind of positive thinking, or just such kind of choice that one could have exactly that result what one wish for, is depend upon a sense of wisdom, knowing the reality based on its kind of truth, that just if one kind of like go through this, then definitely one could get back to home, something like that. So that is why need at least a certain level of wisdom, just more or less, that kind of the to experience that actual right choice of that happiness is depend upon what kind of just cause and condition, as I explained earlier, all those virtuous, meritorious, and the kind of choice to live in the virtuous activity, and that will just lead to the kind of real result what one wish for.
How do you go from doing something that you think needs to be done through willpower to like doing it with relaxation? You know what I mean? Like you can't, sometimes what you need to do, and you just make yourself do it, and it only basically increases tension everywhere. How do you go to doing what's right, being relaxed?
So that is also just in one way still need at least little bit of insight, kind of insight into it, just where one could kind of like put to that willpower, just and working hard to do that continuously, that where one could gain that positive result, where one could kind of see, so that one should have some insight or mathematical calculation, or some sort of logical experiment, that just kind of use the willpower to kind of put more diligence, perseverance to work out of that, I can get this. So otherwise that without real insight into that kind of nature, or without kind of like some sort of mathematical calculation, or without just kind of logical reason, and then just thinking that if I work hard or put my will power here, maybe I will get this, then just not necessarily one can get it, because there is no any kind of like a logic or something that we can prove to get that. So that way one have to just Anyway, one have to just need some, like a approximation of that. If I do this, this will be just kind of the result, in this way. Then one can put willpower.
What if I don't do it? What if I just let it go and I don't do it? Then where am I? So I wouldn't even sort of try. That means if you don't have that willpower or desire, you're just staying there being very passive. That's what I kind of. Can you address that?
Yeah, then just being, kind of being passive means, like, in one way become like kind of, just lazy, or just humiliating oneself, or just kind of like a, not just kind of like want to do that, becoming kind of like a give up something. So then, of course, one cannot get any kind of progress or development or the result. So that is why at that kind of level, one should have more passion than the being passive. One should have more diligence than being lazy. One should have that perseverance. Kind of like, doesn't matter, just how it is hard or difficult. One should kind of really have so much, courage and diligence to do it, and that way one can get, kind of success in one's life. Otherwise, one will just become a loser. Yeah, I don't think anybody wants to be a loser. Yeah, really have to work with mind. Just a mind, kind of sense of determination. Just it really depend upon the mind, how one just kind of decide, determine, and work. Then there's where there is will, there is a way. Yeah. Okay, so then we do, kind of dedication, that whatever just merit we have accumulated here, that we dedicated to all beings, and then to end the suffering of this world and the unpredictable world, and then the problems, warfare, famines, and at the same time that this merit could become just cause for the happiness, health, and good fortune and success, and at the same time for the liberation of every being, that they could be, kind of recognize their own divine natures. Sunam di samje sikbani, sunam nibe tanam bamje ching, jagana je bang tuba isi be sole ndundu warasho, jambe bavi chitara jambadang kundu sambu teyang deshindi, tada kunji cheso tam. Kewan deda tamje rabdo, kewa kundu yangda lama tang, teme cheji pala longche ching sadang lamje yonde rab, toje janje goban yuto so. Oh yeah, thank you. Oh yeah. Good night. Sleep well.